Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. We've got some fake news BS to cover today. I think this clip is going to provide us some value in this video. Might as well just get it out of the way and play it right here.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
CNN, the most trusted name in news. They call themselves journalists. Not taking any side, just serious journalists like Brian Stelter covering the news from a neutral perspective. They tell you that to your face, then essentially act on behalf of the DNC. It's an absolute farce, and today's headline clip makes that farce quite clear. We're picking up from where we left off here on the subject of Trump's removal from the Colorado state ballot. The Supreme Court the other day heard oral arguments. We have a couple clips as well as a CNN clip to talk about. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's draw back to that clip that I played earlier.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
And then, of course, let's contrast that with whatever this was during Jake Tapper's show.
You certainly had a broke Iran, and now you have a very rich Iran. Iran was broke when I left. They had no money to give to Hamas. They had no money to give to
I think we've gotten all the legal analysis we're going to get out of President Trump. It's odd there because this was actually an opportunity for him to come out and say,
no, it's not, because he wants to talk about himself. Right. He doesn't want to talk about the Supreme Court and say, oh, the Supreme Court did a nice job today. He just wants to talk about what's on his mind himself.
Could I just say, someone didn't tell him that this sounded like good news for him today. Clearly, it wasn't just the rambling sort of campaign speech, but if he had simply listened to the analysis afterwards, he would know that it sounds like he's in good shape.
Or George's point, which is that he doesn't even care. He just wants to change the subject back to whatever his...
But, Jake, he's going to care when the court acts on the immunity case, right? And I think that's the real question now. The justices are going to go back. They're going to vote in their private conference for how they're going to come out in this case. And then next week, they're going to get an emergency application from President Trump seeking to further delay the January 6th prosecution here in D.C.
Well, isn't that just such neutral, trusted coverage? Honestly, this Jake Tapper moment is a little bit reminiscent for me of that infamous Rachel Maddow MSNBC moment.
Is making remarks tonight from his home in Florida. As far as we can tell, and what we were prepared for here is that this is basically a campaign speech in which he is repeating his same lies and allegations against his perceived enemies. It is just getting started. So far, he's just giving his normal list of grievances. We don't consider that necessarily newsworthy, and there's a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. So our deal with you is that we will monitor these remarks. If he does say anything newsworthy, we will turn them around and report on that right away. But for now, just know that it's happening and we're not taking it.
Finding some sort of excuse, I guess in this case, just find some sort of excuse to cut away from Trump, to deplatform his speech. The MSNBC tactic was a dishonest virtue signal about not wanting to platform Trump's constant misinformation. It's dangerous. No, of course not. Only they're allowed to misinform the public, as we know. But in CNN's case, they decided the comic relief route is probably the best approach. Hey, well, enough of Trump's expert legal analysis. Let's shift to the great political mind of George Conway. What an absolute farce, people. Let's play the clip again.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Cutting off Donald Trump, laughing at him, essentially implying that he's an idiot, and then cutting to this guy, Mr. Project Lincoln George Conway, an active Democrat operative who was literally the architect behind E. Jean Carroll's ridiculous case against Donald Trump. In other words, they have a Democrat legal operative actively working to destroy Donald Trump as their guest on this serious, neutral news panel. What a joke. But at least we did manage to get a little bit of useful information this moment.
That this sounded like good news for him today.
That, my friends, is the only real news involved here. It seems like Colorado's bid to dump Trump off the ballot isn't exactly going so smoothly as leftists were hoping here. We got a couple examples here, some actual audio from the Supreme Court.
The concern was that the former Confederate states would continue being bad actors. And the effort was to prevent them from doing this. And you're saying that, well, this also authorized states to disqualify candidates. So what I'm asking you for, if you are right, what are the examples?
Well, Your Honor, the examples are states excluded many candidates for state office, individuals holding state offices. We have a number of published cases of states considering that.
I understand that. I understand the states controlling state elections and state positions. What we are talking about here are national candidates. I understand. You look at Foner or Foote, Shelby Foote, or McPherson, they all talk about, of course, the conflict after the Civil War. And there were people who felt very strongly about retaliating against the South, the radical Republicans. But they did not think about authorizing the South to disqualify national candidates. And that's the argument you're making.
He speaks about disqualification from holding office. You say he is disqualified from holding office from the moment it happens.
Correct, but nevertheless...
So it operates, you say that there's no legislation necessary. I thought that was the whole theory of your case. And no procedure necessary. It happens automatically.
Well, certainly you need a procedure in order to have any remedy to enforce the disqualification, which is different.
That's a whole separate question. That's the de facto doctrine. It doesn't work here. Okay, put that aside. He's disqualified from the moment, self-executing, done. And I would think that a person who would receive a direction from that person, the president, former president, in your view, would be free to act as he or she wishes without regard to that individual.
I don't think so, because I think, again, the de facto officer doctrine would nevertheless come into play to say this is...
No, de facto, that doesn't work, Mr. Murray, because de facto officer is to ratify the conduct that's done afterwards and insulate it from judicial review. Put that aside. I'm not going to say it again. Put it aside, okay? I think Justice Alito's asking a very different question, a more pointed one, and more difficult one for you, I understand. But I think it deserves an answer. On your theory, would anything compel a lower official to obey an order from, in your view, the former president?
I'm imagining a situation where, for example, a former president was, a president was elected and they were 25 and they were ineligible to hold office, but nevertheless they were put into that office.
No, we're talking about Section 3. Please don't change the hypothetical, okay? Please don't change the hypothetical. I know I like doing it too, but please don't do it. Okay?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is
he's disqualified from the moment he committed an insurrection, whoever it is, whichever party, that happens. Boom. It happened. What would compel, and I'm not going to say it again, so just try and answer the question. If you don't have an answer, fair enough, we'll move on. What would compel a lower official to obey an order from that individual?
Because ultimately we have statutes and rules.
I mean, I feel as though I probably don't need to say too much. You could pretty much gather how it's going for little Jason Murray there, supposedly arguing on behalf of Colorado voters. Not going so well. Leftist outlets are even forced to admit this. Trump ballot disqualification bid gets skeptical U.S. Supreme Court reception. Seems like another witch hunt's about to bite the dust. Of course, no wonder CNN's so eager to cut away from Donald Trump and not allow him to take the public W. They're essentially working on behalf of the DNC, silencing Donald Trump's personal defense. They won't allow him to look like a martyr. In other words, good news for Donald Trump, and CNN is seething as per usual. That's pretty much it. That's what I got for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.